December. For those who know that it's not just a month, but a lifestyle. Now it's January and life is threatening ukubamba amawashing financially. There's back to school and your own goals, and January is on everyone's lips.
Mara, you can get the relief you need right now and start the year strong with the personal loan from Nedbank with access up to 400,000 Rand. Search Nedbank Personal Loans and get a loan that offers you more. Nedbank. See money differently. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Let's turn our attention to this story now. The Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group is sounding the alarm about food increases facing South Africans in the new year. The organization says it is concerned because the end of 2024 saw a year-on-year rise of 2.8% in the food basket. The organization says the already high food prices mean more people will struggle to make ends meet, at least at the beginning of the year. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Mervyn Abrahams, who is the program coordinator at the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So let's start with what drove the 2.8% increase. I see that some items there rose quite sharply, but overall the increase for December was 2.8 in the basket that you track.
Yes, so good morning to us and good morning to all your viewers. Yes, we saw a generalized increase in price across a number of vegetables. For instance, tomatoes and carrots. We saw spinach increasing and fruit increasing, but also in some meats, like chicken feet, which is strange because people think, well, chicken feet are discarded. In fact, in South Africa, it's not discarded because the more expensive chicken becomes, the more lower income groups tend to buy cheaper cuts of meat. So the increase in chicken feet is often an indicator of the level of struggle within households, and that has increased because the demand has increased. And then we have seen some decreases around potatoes and onions, for instance, which is often very good because they are important in households. But generally speaking, as you've mentioned, our basket has increased by 2.8% or 145 Rand over the past year. And most of these increases to us have happened in what we call the core foods. So those are the essential foods that women tell us they must buy every month. If we just look at one thing, for instance, over the past year, 30 kgs of maize meal has increased from 281 Rand to 332 Rand by the end of December. So that's the context in which we speak about this rising food prices.
Yeah, it is concerning. What's happening in the fresh produce market? Because I'm looking at the increases, many of them, as you point out, bananas going up some 7% month on month, apples 9%. Many parents who have children going back to school who need to, pack lunch boxes, especially in the low-income communities and segments of society that you track, will be worried about some of these.
Yes, they would be. Of course, they would be greatly worried. So we have to acknowledge, of course, that when it comes to fresh produce, it is seasonal. So, for instance, summer fruits would be, of course, cheaper in the summer, and winter ones would be a bit more expensive, like carrots, for instance, and tomatoes tend to be grown in winter, so they're a little bit more expensive in summer than in winter. But we also are beginning to see the impact of climate change. And so we're seeing the impact of the drought, for instance, in the western part of the country, which concerns us a lot because it will have not only an impact on fruit, it would also have an impact on maize prices, which could likely rise this year. And of course, when maize prices rise, it's not just maize meal that increases, because maize is used in many other types of foods. So it is really difficult for households to survive at this time of the year, considering that this time of the year they also have to buy school uniform, they also have to buy stationery. It's not just food. And that's the difficulty, particularly in the January, February months for low-income households.
I take it then very quickly and lastly, Mervyn, that you are looking forward to the release of the market inquiry by the Competition Commission. The Commission has indicated that market inquiry will have its outcome communicated today.
Yes, we are definitely looking forward. And not only do we want the results of the inquiry, if there are any levels of perhaps issues that does not comply with the Competition Commission laws, that we begin to see companies being challenged in the legal process.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Mervyn Abrahams, who is the Program Coordinator at the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Celebrate the festive season with SABC Plus. Register on the SABC Plus app or website and you could win 10 gigs of data per month over the period of 6 months, as well as stand a chance to take home one of 6 Samsung A05s smartphones. Entering is easy. Register on SABC Plus, complete the survey and simply SMS the keyword SABC Plus and your unique PIN code to 49979. It's that simple. Make this holiday season unforgettable with SABC Plus. Terms and conditions apply. SMS costs R1.50. Free SMSs do not apply.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We've been warning about this one. Going into Sandton, there's some waterworks on Catherine Street, so it is already really slow. We're pretty early. We're almost 10 to 7 on a Monday morning, but Catherine Street coming off Greyston in towards Central Sandton's already backlogged. So if you know what you're doing there, Greyston onto a Daisy, perhaps, and down to Rivonia or Linden through towards Rivonia Road will be better options. That section of Catherine, as you turn off Greyston Drive, you will hit some very heavy pressure. The N1 North, Malabongwe up to Four Ways William Mandela, slow going. The Mike 1 from Boysons through to Empire Road is filling up. A lot of traffic on the N3 North where there hasn't been for a while. The N3 from Germiston, busy as you might remember it from last year as you line up through into Galulis. Even the N1 through Midrand, noticeably busier this morning with some traffic pressure from the Brockfontein interchange down to about New Road. Also, enough traffic to slow things up around a breakdown on the M1 South near Atterbury Road. So coming through from the N4, that is busy, and plenty of traffic on Eske and Pathwele coming in from the cement factory side in towards the Pretoria city centre area. Another good indicator there's more traffic around. Durban, the N2 southbound, Mhlanga through to Komashu, that's looking fairly heavy. Big backlogs there if you're on your way in from the airport. May want to reroute down to the M4 at Mshloti, take the M4 straight through. Just drive carefully, please, around Durban. There's so much rain, flooding, surface water problems here and there. Cape Town, Baden-Powell Drive at Monwabisi. Unlikely you'll be able to get through this morning after big winds across the weekend. That sand is very, very thick. I don't think you'll get through. So either stay on the N2 and take some reroutes or be prepared to come off Baden-Powell and reroute through Khayelitsha. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 to 7 here on SAFM. Let's turn our attention to this story now. Police in Mpumalanga say they are working on apprehending the perpetrators of a mass shooting at a tavern in Pinar in Mbombela. On Saturday morning, a group of unknown gunmen opened fire outside the tavern, killing 6 people instantly. 2 other people later succumbed to their injuries in hospital. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Brigadier Donald Mdluli, who is the spokesperson for the police in Mpumalanga. Good morning to you and thank you for your time this morning. So you said on Saturday that you did not know the motive behind, but you had no arrests at that point. Where do we stand with the investigation on Monday morning?
Thank you. Good morning to you, Thulasizwe, as well as to the listeners of SAFM. Yes, indeed, the motive is yet to be established. However, we can indicate that yesterday or last night, there is a 39-year-old suspect. It's a male that has been arrested in Pinar. And also there is a firearm. It's a pistol with about 13 ammunition that was confiscated during his arrest. So the team has made a breakthrough in relation to that incident, and also to indicate that amongst the three that were still in hospital, one has been discharged yesterday. So this suspect is expected to appear in court soon. And the investigation is still ongoing. That team is working very hard, and we can see now with this arrest of this male suspect.
How key is this arrest, Brigadier, given that I imagine that you are looking at more than one suspect, but how key is it to make the first breakthrough?
For us, it's a good start, and we believe from, as I've indicated, that the team is on the ground. Remember, there was a 72-hour plan that has been activated to ensure that within that short space of time, we should at least make a breakthrough, of which we have been successful. The unit murder and robbery that has been resuscitated about a year ago has been brought in to work with the detectives, also from other stakeholders, from crime intelligence and other relevant stakeholders. So for us, it's key, and we believe that it will lead us to major breakthrough, and also to understand what was the motive and the circumstances surrounding this.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing that breakthrough with us. That is Brigadier Donald Mdluli, who speaks on behalf of the police in Mpumalanga. There you have it, the latest news coming out of that investigation. Brigadier Mdluli, they're confirming that they've arrested a 39-year-old man in connection with that shooting that occurred, the mass shooting at a tavern in Pinar in Mbombela over the weekend.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
So from that positive development in as far as policing is concerned to the not so positive. The South African Policing Union, SAPU, says a lot of police vehicles nationally are unroadworthy and in poor condition. SAPU made the comments following the death of an Eastern Cape police officer on New Year's Eve while trying to kickstart his faulty work vehicle. Constable Kaylan Andrews had only been on the force for 3 months when he was killed after the police van he was driving broke down in Helenvale, Nelson Mandela Bay, which is the most notorious gang-infested neighborhood in that area. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Lisiba Tobachale, who is the South African Police Union spokesperson. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Let's start, before we go into the details of the extent of the problem, just your thinking as a union and your reaction to that incident, the killing of Constable Kaylan Andrews. It's utterly shocking, is it not?
Yeah, no, it is quite shocking. And remember, we have an issue when it comes to high rate of police killings. Only now, for the month of January, over 5 police officers were murdered. So that really tells you that the very same issue that we are having of police killings is still continuing. And in this incident, what is even shocking is that a minor, someone who is a young boy, is involved in this type of a shooting. That's really worrying us further to say what is really happening within our communities, where a young man, goes and say, what, has such audacity to be so brazen and say that they go and kill a police officer. So it really remains worrying to say that our protectors are not safe whilst they are out there to protect our communities. So they themselves, they seem not to be protected. So it's really worrying to us. I mean, our position, Thulasizwe, is clear when it comes to the issue of police killings in general, that it needs to be declared as treason so that we can really have stringent measures in terms of the convictions, so that those who are found guilty may spend even more time in jail when they are found guilty of such crimes.
Lesiba, so the added element in all of this, of course, has to do with the fact that a few minutes before he was gunned down, this constable, he had his car break down and community members were helping. Some were helping to start the car, but others were filming and making fun of the situation. How emblematic is this incident of the situation as far as the availability of proper roadworthy vehicles for members of the SAPS?
Yeah, firstly, it is such an embarrassment that a state vehicle that is being used by police officers would be pushed. It would have to be kick-started. That on its own is an embarrassment to the service itself, to say we should not have such types of vehicles that would need to be kick-started. So it really goes to issues of maintenance. It goes to the issues of making sure that all vehicles that are being used by our members, who then sacrifice with their lives to go and drive these vehicles and to be in our communities, to attend to complaints, to patrol, the least that they should get is indeed to make sure that they have roadworthy vehicles. They don't have to go and kickstart those vehicles and so on. I mean, if it wasn't because of a vehicle that needed to be kickstarted, such an incident wouldn't have happened. That is, we have to be straight about it. So the issue of vehicles that are not roadworthy in the police, it really needs to be addressed, because having incidents like this, it really would be an eye-opener to the management of SAPS that we should not have such incidents.
All right. Lesiba Tobachale is the South African Police Union spokesperson. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me take quick reaction on that story and the killing of police officers. Good morning to you, Vusi, calling from Kokstad.
Hi, good morning, Thulas.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Okay. In fact, you have just nailed or hit the nail on the head when you was talking to this gentleman that you just finished with him. We need to ask ourselves, who is in charge of the transport of police? Because if it was not the police themselves, if it was, let's say, Department of Transport or Department of Public Works is providing the transport, it would be easy for the police to complain if they don't have, proper vehicles to complain to the department that is in charge.
Yeah.
But now, because everything is in-house, it becomes a problem. Because you must also remember that there is this department whereby they don't do their jobs perfectly.
Yeah.
But my question that I wanted actually to request from you is to convey the message to the president and to the GNU that do we really need to have the deputy ministers in South Africa? Because those people, they are the one actually who is taking a chunk of the budget of the country. Imagine if we didn't have them, we wouldn't have the problem of the doctors who have not employed because there is no money to pay their salaries.
Yeah, gotcha.
We wouldn't have a problem with the water scarcity in our country. Because as it is now, we have a problem. We have got water tanks that are running around in the country instead of having boreholes in the strategic points.
Let's leave it there.
Whereby we have a clean water.
Thank you. Thank you for your call this morning. That's Vusi in Kokstad there, tying it up nicely, this issue around vehicles with the budgetary constraints and saying, look for places where you can cut. And according to him, deputy ministers would be a key one if you got rid of all of the deputy ministers. At 7 a.m., let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, education experts warn against comparing matric class of 2024 with others, and Biden and Netanyahu discuss Gaza ceasefire deal talks. Good morning. Education experts have warned against comparing the class of 2024 to those of the previous years, saying they had different experiences. The matric class of 2024 are expected to know their fate today. The Council for Quality Assurance, Umalusi, is expected to pronounce on the National Senior Certificate results today, ahead of the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Hwagube's official announcement. Meanwhile, the National Association School of Governing Bodies in Limpopo has called on parents and the public to rally behind matric learners ahead of the official release of the national results. Individual candidate results will be released tomorrow. The results will also be published in newspapers. The association's convener, Eileen Hudson, says the support is crucial for learners who have not performed well.
Focus on what you can. Matric is a marathon, not a race. And while you are waiting for your results, review your plans for this year and ensure that you will be able to continue on your chosen path, regardless.
Education activist Hendrik Makaneta has called on the Basic Education Department to urgently conduct an internal investigation following allegations that a private entity has been selling matric results. This follows a social media post alleging the results are being sold online for 100 rand. This is before today's official release of the national results. The department is yet to react to the allegations. Makaneta says if the allegations are true, they must be resolved swiftly to reassure South Africans that the education system remains secure.
The situation is a cause for great concern. If it is true, then it suggests a potential breach of data security and a violation of learners' right to privacy. The sale of results, whether legitimate or not, undermines public confidence in the education system, and it also casts doubt on the DBE's ability to secure its systems. In light of these developments, we urge the DBE to conduct an internal investigation and also call on the Special Investigating Unit to intervene to ensure transparency and accountability.
4 people have been killed in a collision between a truck and a car on the N3 toll route near the roadside Ritz interchange in the Free State. Both vehicles caught fire on impact in the crash which happened last night. The deceased were in the car. Their bodies were burnt beyond recognition. One person who was in the truck was injured and taken to the Tebe hospital. The Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department has confirmed Minister Velinkosini Hlabisa is safe. This after his security team's vehicle was involved in a crash on the N2. The crash, in which Hlabisa's driver died, occurred in the northbound direction near Stanger in KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday. The department spokesperson Paul Maseko Bingoshe.
Minister Hlabisa extends his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family at this hour of pain, and out of respect for the dearly departed and the family of the deceased, Minister has requested that the privacy of the family be respected and that they be given the space to mourn in peace.
And finally, U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telephonically about the ongoing ceasefire and hostage negotiations in Doha, Qatar, but hopes of a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas to end the 15-month war in Gaza before Biden leaves office next week appear to be fading fast. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
A White House statement says Biden discussed the fundamentally changed regional circumstances following a separate ceasefire deal with Lebanon, the fall of the Assad government in Syria, and what the U.S. terms as the weakening of Iran's power in the region. The U.S. president again stressed the need for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the hostages, with a surge in humanitarian aid enabled by a stoppage in fighting. Talks mediated by the U.S., Qatar and Egypt have at times appeared close in recent weeks, only to stall. This after a new study by the Lancet Medical Journal suggested the death toll in Gaza was far higher than official figures, estimating over 65,000 Palestinian deaths from traumatic injuries alone.
Recapping the top story, education experts have warned against comparing the class of 2024 to those of previous years, saying they had different experiences. The matric class of 2024 are expected to know their fate today. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This January, to save money, you could cut back on the milk in your cereal, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It is back to work Monday this morning. A good indicator of that is what's going on the N1 South through Midrand. It's just heavy jammed across all lanes between Brockfontein and the New Road. Before you get there, there's a breakdown on the N1 South at Atterbury coming through from Pretoria from the N4 highway down through Linwood towards Atterbury Road. That's all backed up as well, so 2 queues to work through. Queuing pressure on the Mike 1 from Boysons through to Empire Road. The N1 from Randburg, very slow up to the Willie Mandela off-ramp, and it looks like something unfolding on the N3 at Limbro Park, just north of the Marlborough Drive exit up towards Buccleuch. All of a sudden, that's getting very busy. Durban, a crash around Tweeny Hill, so the N2 from Munzamtoti up to Prospecton is slow, but it is improving. A crash on the M4 Southern Freeway going inbound near Victoria Embankment, so that's quite a queue this morning to work through from Umbilo and Congella up into the city centre. And we've got the usual breakdown on the N2 between Umhlanga and the Kwamashu exit. The N2 into Durban this morning is pretty heavily backed all the way beyond Gateway and back towards Sabaya. If you're coming down from the airport side, off-ramp at Umhloti, take the M4, the Ruth First Highway. That'll get you through to Durban quicker. That N2 looks really busy. And then Cape Town, no traffic lights. Jake Scoville Drive at the N2, so that's all going to be fairly heavily backed up. And faulty traffic lights and a crash on 35th Avenue through Owen Road and up towards Francie Fun Sale. So a little bit of extra traffic on that run north into Parow. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's soccer action as Kaizer Chiefs coach Nasruddin Nabi sees red after Golden Arrows sink their chances in Durban. And in tennis action, the second seed Iga Swiatek beats Katerina Siniakova, and that's to advance in Melbourne. All the details around 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Monday. Hey, welcome to it. This is the second hour of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Let me tell you what's coming up within this hour. We'll have a bit of analysis on the January 8 event that was held by the ANC president, Cyril Ramaphosa, talking there about weaknesses that are leading to the poor performance, the declining electoral support for the party. And at the heart of it, it would seem that the National Executive Committee of the ANC has identified the weakness of the party's branches as being key to this situation that's seeing them decline in as far as electoral support is concerned. So we'll analyze what came out of that and all this talk of renewal, and that's coming up in the next few minutes. Also, the issue that I flagged at the start of the show, we were told that the Johannesburg Roads Agency and the company Step Up Engineering have agreed to end their partnership. Mutually agreed separation is what it's called. This has been announced by the member of the Mayoral Committee for Transport in Johannesburg, that's Kenny Gunene. I'll have a conversation with Kenny Gunene coming up in the next few minutes. You know my views. If someone was in breach, why do we even need to be having a mutually agreed separation? You earn the right to terminate the contract when there's underperformance, and you can, following the right processes, of course, then terminate the contract. You fire them, basically. You don't negotiate and say mutually agreed separation. How much money is that going to cost us? Kenny Gunene will answer those questions in the next few minutes. A bit later on, I'll tell you about the Gauteng High Court Division in Pretoria ruling that government must appoint mining rescue services to assist in rescuing miners, illegal miners who remain underground in the area of Stilfontein in the northwest. And I've just been wondering, to what extent are we underplaying or downplaying what's actually playing out in Stilfontein? And perhaps one day, hopefully not, but perhaps one day we will look back and say perhaps we should have been a bit more outraged and a bit more alarmed and called for more reaction a bit earlier on. I'm just wondering out loud. Do engage me on these and other issues. The number to dial 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on the number 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The second hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
My name is Bandi Linyawane. I'm 17 and I'm a professional cricket player. While on tour, I was battling to keep up with school, so my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. It's changed the game for me. With the ability to learn from anywhere, I can get ahead and stay ahead. Sign up at uctonlinehighschool.com. It's not too late. Applications close 20 January 2025.
VfB Stuttgart are strategizing on how to secure a dignified top half position, while RB Leipzig are aware of how crucial victory will be for them to rise higher. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch VfB Stuttgart versus RB Leipzig on Wednesday, 15 January at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This January, to save money, you could carpool with your not-so-friendly neighbor, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
At 14 minutes after 7, let's talk a bit of politics now. The ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party's National Executive Committee has identified weaknesses in the African National Congress's local branches as a key factor contributing to its declining electoral support. Ramaphosa has said this during the party's January 8 celebrations in Cape Town. In his address, he emphasized the urgent need for renewal within the ANC, stressing that the survival of the party depends on revitalizing its grassroots structures and reinforcing accountability. So let's bring some analysis in then. I'm joined by Professor Tinyiko Maluleke, who is the Vice Chancellor at the Tshwane University of Technology and also the Deputy Chairperson of the National Planning Commission. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning, Prof. So the message is renewal, and I suppose for the ANC, they are doing a diagnosis and saying the most pressing and urgent area of renewal would be its branches. What do you make of that diagnosis and that prioritization of the branch as the immediate task that needs to be renewed?
Certainly, I couldn't have summarized the speech better than you just did. I think that at the heart of the statement, January 8th statement, is the message of renewal. In fact, if you look at the text of the statement, the fattest part, the longest part of the statement has to do with renewal, and renewal keeps creeping up even under subheadings that are not necessarily about renewal. So if I were to choose a title for this January 8th statement, it would either be Renew or Perish, which was said by the president, or simply renewal. it's time for renewal. And I think the ANC is, through this statement, is admitting to the reality that the May 24 elections have brought about. And I think it's an attempt not only to to introspect, but also to search for a way forward. I haven't seen so much granular detail inserted on the notion of renewal as I have seen in this January 8th statement. There is so much detail in it. There's a real grappling with the state of the ANC. And it's not just the branch. It's poor basic services that are identified, the crisis of unemployment under the watch of the ANC, the problem of ethical and responsive governance, and then, of course, the organizational weaknesses that you refer to in the statement. That is the heart of it, and I think there are huge concessions made by in the statement. I mean, the GNU is defended. The ANC is also defended. The notion of a strategic setback is used to explain what happened in May 2024. I'm not so sure what that means because when he went off his notes, the president of the ANC spoke of a huge setback and not just a strategic setback.
Not just a strategic setback, a huge setback.
Yeah.
Did you hear enough, though, of the detail, Prof? Sorry, did you hear enough of the detail of the how part of the renewal? Because, I mean, I trace back this word renewal back to the 2017 elective conference of the ANC, where it was unity and renewal. I suppose the unity has fallen to the back burner, and now renewal is foregrounded. Did you get enough of the how exactly that will be done?
Well, there is a little bit more than before. The focus on the branch, for example, the identification of the branch as the place where structurally the ANC needs to strengthen, the focus on the kind of people that need to be recruited to the ANC, the focus on the orientation around the ethics, around the history of members of the ANC. So there is a little bit more in this statement on the kind of renewal that is necessary for the ANC to quote him, for the ANC to win back the confidence of the people of the country. So, and the renewal is not just about the ANC alone this time around. It's the renewal of the ANC in tandem with the improvement of the ability of the economy to create wealth. Renewal of the ANC in tandem with the need to improve the quality of services and improve the levels of integrity and so on. The focus on the Integrity Committee, for example, is another detail that one could say one has noted this time around.
Yeah. All right, Professor Tinyiko Maluleka, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. He is the Vice-Chancellor at the Tshwane University of Technology, as well as the Deputy Chairperson of the National Planning Commission. Listening to that is Tsepo Matseba, who is a reputation analyst. Good morning to you, Tsepo, and thank you for your time. So, the key theme, as you heard in the last few minutes, coming out of that January 8th statement of the ANC is renewal. Would I be correct in saying renewal in this context is a brand promise of this political party? And if I am correct, can the political party deliver on this brand promise?
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to engage. In 2007, Polokwane conference, renewal was actually used that at the time when there was a conflict between former President Thabo Mbeki and former President Jacob Zuma, where the ANC rode on the promise of renewal, and Zuma won the presidency of the ANC. We know Mangaung happened, the same principle happened. That was 2012, 2017, Nasrec, Ramaphosa spoke about the new dawn. And so on until 2023, 2024, and today. And the reality of this renewal is that there's a kind of a mismatch between the authenticity of the message and the reality that on the ground, in the sense that the ANC promises renewal within its ranks, renewal which will hopefully at some point help the country to deal with critical factors including crime, corruption, and high youth unemployment, poor service delivery. But the reality is that the actions that are taken by the very ANC demonstrates otherwise. In fact, the ANC often comes across as tone deaf. And you would have seen not so long ago during this past week, the ANC Secretary General, really grandstanding and getting into Robben Island through a very expensive mechanism that doesn't show this unity, renewal, and accountability, and instead it just demonstrates opulence and power, which is the reason why the ANC is where it is today. The other painful fact about this renewal story is that it has a serious disconnect, does not resonate with younger voters. When the ANC was using renewal in 2007, my son, who was young at the time, very, very young at the time, was not voting. He's 20 years old today. So the voting patterns and the voting population is changing. And so you can't rely on historic support and historical ideas without translating them into tangible outcomes such as policy and governance, economic growth, and youth employment, just those basics.
I hear you about that disconnect that you allude to, Tsepo, but I'm wondering to what extent is this message of renewal redeemed or perhaps supported to a certain extent by this commitment that says where there are service delivery failures, far from protecting and shielding ANC officials who don't deliver, the ANC branch will be the heart of development in the community, will be the channel through which issues and complaints and the likes can be raised, and there will be some accountability measure. So in a way, what I'm asking you is to what extent are we seeing a political brand that's promising that we are departing from how you've perceived us as those who, don't deliver and then shield one another and not hold one another accountable?
It's going to be difficult for us to say that the renewal in that context demonstrates potential for the ANC's actual renewal and rebuilding this brand promise. And that's because when you listen to messages that came out of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, it says, well, it's not our fault that we are where we are in terms of electoral performances because National is not doing its work. And so you need the ANC to renew itself as an entire ecosystem. And the easier way to do that is to start at the top. You can't have individuals and groups that are tainted in corruption scandals, leading the party, being at the top, being in key government positions, resembling some sort of reward, and expect that the branch will actually help you to renew and manage upwards, because we know that the structures of the ANC as you go upwards are powerful, except when you get to elections at that ANC's electoral conference, where the 4,000 or so individuals elect their political leader. But generally speaking, the ANC's top structures have a major influence on how the ANC is perceived, how the ANC performs both locally and provincial and national. And so you expect that at least at the very minimum, while you deal with the branches, please add an authentic message that demonstrates that those individuals who need to step aside actually do step aside, so that the ANC can have genuine renewal and not speak through complex political jargon that some part of the growing voter population is actually shifting from and moving more towards realistic politics of service delivery.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Tsepo Matseba, who is a reputation analyst.
Besties, friends, fam. This summer isn't just a season. It's how we live, and at S3, we're doing the most. So go ahead, have seconds. Bring the extra friend. Heck, turn it into a party. Because it's the festive that never ends. So why settle for one show when you can do the most? Come on, pile on the activities this summer. We're cooking, binge watching, braaiing and serving nothing less than the most. Do the most with world-class entertainment. Download SABC Plus and stream your favorite anytime.
Abafana West 10 and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 18 January, live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, it's a pity we are battling a bit to get a hold of the MMC Kenigunene around this termination by mutual agreement of this contract with Step Up Engineering. This has to do with Lillian Ngoyi and the rehabilitation thereof. We will see if we can rearrange and have another time to speak to MMC Kenigunene, because I think that's a critically important conversation around the delivery of large-scale infrastructure projects in this country and the extent to which they get delayed and end up going over budget quite significantly. But anyway, let's take a few of your calls this morning. Let's speak to Kwezi in Kumbu. Good morning to you, Kwezi. You want to talk to me about ANC and its renewal?
Yes. Good morning, Mnguni. Kunjani?
Ngiyaphila kunjani mfo?
Khona, compliments.
Compliments to you too.
Ngoni, 30 years ago, the ANC was given a mandate to transform the education system and create an equal and equitable education system. Today, as we await metric results, the pass rate has been lowered to 30%. And yet public education is far from matching your Model C education and private education. Two, in 1994, the ANC was given a mandate to transform a public health system. And 30 years on, the health system is a shambles. It was also given a mandate to return the land to disposal, that is land restitution. I don't know the percentage of land that has been returned to its rightful owners. And also to create quality employment. Instead of doing that, the ANC comrades engaged in unbridled corruption, which did not appeal to the electorate. And in its renewal, in its mooted renewal, the ANC does not talk about how it is going to correct the issues that I have mentioned above. In renewal, as it appears, is just a facade to law back voters, which is not going to happen. And as things stand, the only way for the ANC is to the opposition benches.
All right, thank you for that. Kwezi, that's Kwezi there in Kumbu. I suppose, Kwezi, they're talking about the bigger, longer-term transformational project of South Africa as it manifests in the areas of life that he mentions around education, around health, etc., and saying that the renewal message needs to talk to, how will you fix the extent to which those have not progressed as well as they should have, or in some instances actually can be said to have stalled. Let's check in now with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. Some matric learners are optimistic but cautious ahead of the Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagobe's official announcement of the 2024 matric results this evening. Some education experts have warned against comparing the class of 2024 to those of previous years, saying they had different experiences. And 4 people have been killed in a collision between a truck and a car on the N3 toll route near the roadside Ritz interchange in the Free State. And the Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa, DONOSA in Limpopo, is calling on the Health Department to urgently improve security at public health care facilities in the province. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It is that busy back to work Monday that we've been dreading, but it has arrived. Highways around Gauteng fully loaded, as you might remember them from last year. A couple of examples: the N1 Beyers-Naudé to Rivonia, N3 from Cement Factory right through to Marlborough Drive up in Limbro Park, and the N1 through Midrand. Well, it's under pressure. All lanes busy between Brockfontein and the New Road exit. Across in Durban, a crash on the M4, the Southern Freeway inbound at the Esplanade. That's heavy coming through Umbulo and Kongela. A crash on Fields Hill, the M13 towards Pinetown, backlogging to sort of Maytime Gillets area, and major delays coming down the N2 from the airport. There's a breakdown in the roadworks between Gateway and Kumashi. That queue almost back as far as Sabaya. Cape Town traffic police have arrived at Baden-Powell Drive at the sand section, the thick sand section at Monwabisi, so follow their instructions, which may well involve a little detour. And Marine Drive busier than it has been for a while. We're queuing up from Tableview through Sunset Beach, and then it gets even heavier from Milnerton through Parton Islands. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
So they like to say Nabi is cooking. He's not cooking. He's boiling over with anger. He's just unhappy after that performance.
From managing Soweto's finest to being Soweto's most frustrated. Yeah. That's how Nasruddin Nabi is feeling, especially the aftermath. He was shown a red card over the weekend. His team then suffered a 1-0 defeat to Golden Arrows in a rain-soaked clash in Durban. Despite dominating with 13 goal attempts, Chiefs only managed 1 on target, while Arrows captain Gladwin Chitolo netted with the decisive goal, and that was in the 56th minute. The loss leaves Chiefs in 6th place, 12 points adrift of leaders Mamelodi Sundowns, despite playing 2 more games. Meanwhile, Sekhukhune United climbed to 3rd on the table after Zambian striker Andy Boyele netted a second-half hat-trick in their 3-0 win over 10-man Supersport United in Pretoria. Orlando Pirates secured their place in their knockout round of the CAF Champions League this weekend, following a 2-1 victory against Belouizdad in Group C, and that's at the Orlando Stadium yesterday. It's the first time the Buccaneers advanced to the Champions League quarterfinals since 2013, when they went on to reach the final, which they lost to Egyptian giants Al Ahly. Here's their coach, Jose Rivero.
And the way that we did it is something to feel proud of. Now we have to play in Cairo one more game. We want to show a good picture of ourselves in that game, even though we are in quarterfinals. It's an opportunity to be top of the table in the end of the group stage. And that's the only thing in our mind is the next game, is go to Cairo, is perform, is still playing our football.
Another match saw Stellenbosch FC advancing to the quarterfinals of the CAF Confed Cup with a 2-0 victory over Stade Malien. Happened at Loftus Versfeld yesterday. The South Africans controlled the game throughout and moved to 9 points, consolidating second place behind Bokane in Group D. Elsewhere, Tottenham needing extra time to overcome a non-league team Tamworth 3-0 in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says it's incredible that Arsenal didn't win yesterday's FA Cup 3rd round tie with holders Manchester United. The Gunners lost 5-3 on penalties after a 1-0 draw at the end of extra time.
Incredible how you don't win again. That's basically to sum up the dominance, the superiority in relation to your position, and everything that we did to try to win the game. And that's it. That we didn't deserve. We didn't get what we deserved, clearly. But there is an element that is about putting the ball in the back of the net. They did it once, and with the amount of situations, chances, penalties that we had, we didn't.
And Barcelona thrashing Real Madrid 5-2 in the Spanish Super Cup final took place in Saudi Arabia yesterday. Rugby replacement fullback Cohen Jasper scored a try after the sirens as the Cheetah overhauled Zebra in a thrilling EPCR Challenge Cup clash in Amsterdam, sealing a 22-18 victory. John Plumtree sings the Sharks should take some positives from their home loss over the weekend as they look to qualify for the Investec Champions Cup last 16 in Bordeaux next week. The Sharks went down 2018 at Kings Park against the French giants Toulouse. Motorsport, Toyota Gazoo driver Lucas Mares, who had fallen more than 3 hours behind in the overall standings after a mechanical issue on Stage 6, bounced back to claim victory on Stage 7 of the Dakar Rally. South Africa's Henk Lateghan, he has the overall lead. And Australian Daniel Sanders underlined his dominance on the bikes in the Dakar Rally with victory in the 7th stage, his 5th win of this year's race. And finally, tennis, Iga Swiatek fought back to beat former world number 1 doubles player Katerina Siniakova 6-3, 6-4 in the first round of the Australian Open in Melbourne this morning. The second seed, Swiatek, will take on Slovakia's Rebecca Stramkova in the second round. More sport, top of the hour on the Morning Brief. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Tell me, in aviation, the airports company South Africa is seeking to, assure that there are measures in place now that will make sure that aircraft are not, affected by fuel issues at OR Tambo International Airport.
That's right, Sules, and this comes after a fire at Natref on the 4th of January. According to the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa, repairs to the damaged crude distillation unit are expected to only be completed by the 21st of February. In the meantime, AXA has jet fuel reserves that will last until the 20th of January. And to mitigate, the fuel supply issues, additional measures are being implemented. These include a scheduled jet fuel delivery of 17,000 cubic meters, as well as a pipeline delivery of 30,000 cubic meters, which will arrive at OR by the 27th of this month. Furthermore, rail deliveries of jet fuel from Durbridge and Matola in Mozambique have been prioritized, and alternative fuel sources from other airports are being explored. AXA has reassured airlines, passengers, and stakeholders that all necessary steps are being taken to maintain normal airport operations and ensure a secure and uninterrupted fuel supply. Now, this move aims to prevent a repeat of the disruptions experienced in December when 54 flights were delayed due to refueling issues caused by a faulty valve, leaving passengers stranded for hours.
I have a feeling I should know who Renergen is, but I don't. Tell me who Renergen is and why are they denying that there's talk of business rescue?
So Renergen is a local company that produces helium and liquefied natural gas. One of their biggest assets, their gas project, is based in Free State at the Virginia plant. And what they're saying is that they're just reassuring shareholders that they are not in business rescue talks, this despite facing financial and operational challenges. The company's share price has plunged by 65.7% over the past year and 86.5% over the past 3 years, making it one of the worst performing stocks on the JSE over the past 3 to 4 years. Now, Renergen's financial struggles are due to operational inefficiencies, environmental and legal challenges amid a cash shortfall. The company is scrambling to stay afloat and regain investor confidence. Despite being in production, Renergen's first helium sale for its Virginia gas project has yet to materialize due to delays. Now, the company has informed shareholders that it is working closely with lenders and investors on short-term liquidity management, with negotiations expected to conclude soon. Renergen has also cautioned shareholders against making investment decisions based on speculation, advising them to rely only on formal communication from the company.
I'm kicking myself because I feel like I asked you exactly the same question just a couple of weeks ago. Bear with me, darling. I will get there. I will finally get it. Just another recap then for us of how the markets are looking this morning.
So kicking things off in Asia, markets falling deeper into the red as robust U.S. employment figures have overshadowed Asian financial markets by suggesting higher for longer interest rates and dashing hopes for federal rate cuts. With that, the Hong Kong Hang Seng is down 1.1% and the Japanese Nikkei down a similar margin, losing just over 1%. Over in Wall Street, futures also in the red. It seems like the sell-off that kicked off last week will be moving into the new week. Traders will also be eyeing inflation numbers out later this week, so we should be in for another week of choppy trade. And then back at home, sentiment downbeat with the JSE following its international peers. The all share down 0.33% in Friday's trading session. The rand in the meantime trading weaker at a 9-month low. It's sitting at 19.15 to the dollar.
All right, thank you for that. We'll talk to you in the third hour. That's Ntauling Lichela. She'll give you one more update before the resumption of trade, and that's just after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
At Business Outsurance, ensuring your business is our business. Switch to Business Outsurance today, and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Get affordable cover to protect your business against everyday risks. Get the best business insurance at the best price for your business. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Defending champions Bayer Leverkusen want to stay close to the log leaders, while Borussia Mönchengladbach are navigating a path to the top 4. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Bayer Leverkusen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach on Saturday, 18 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's turn now to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Good morning to you, Raz. Let's start in Comoros. They had parliamentary elections, and you're saying that they've been boycotted by some opposition parties?
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, yesterday the island of Comoros in Moroni, they had legislative elections or parliamentary elections that were held. They are contesting for 33 seats in the parliament, and the opposition did not participate, alleging that President Azali Usman has been authoritarian, and also they are raising the concerns over integrity of the elections. Remember, Comoros has went through many coups, and even the same president has been having challenges since 2016. Now we will be waiting for those election results in a week to come in the island of Comoros. Despite that, tropical Wagadikele has landed Thulas in those islands, even if we have elections.
Speaking of elections boycotted by some opposition members, opposition parties, that's the situation in Chad. But that didn't stop the party there, the ruling party, from winning a 2/3 majority.
Absolutely, Thulas. Patriotic Salvation Movement, led by the son of the late Idris Deby Into Jr., they've got almost 124 seats out of 188 of the National Assembly. The voter turnout very low, Thulas, at 51%, but the opposition also raising the same question that we see in Comoros, the question of the lack of transparency in those elections, and also that it seems that the current president, he knew that he will definitely go for this municipal and regional elections. Despite that, we know, Thulas, this after a decade of what Chad has went through, that these elections were held the last month, and these election results have already given Deby now 124 seats in the national parliament.
And a critical week in Mozambique. The inauguration is set down for the 15th, in 2 days' time.
That is quite true, Thulas. Talking of Mozambique, tropical, the also Thulas have landed in Mozambique today, coming from Madagascar. You have the cyclones, Chito, you have Venancio, which said that today they will start to even protest from today until on Wednesday. Remember, also the members of parliament have to be sworn in today, Thulas, before presidential inauguration, which will be held at the Independence Square on Wednesday. So the government said they have sent an invitation to SADC, to the AU, to the European heads of state, including Portugal, that also has raised a concern about the election outcome of Mozambique. So we'll wait and see about what will happen on the 15th. It is expected that 2,500 people will attend the swearing of Daniel Chapo as the new president of Mozambique.
In Uganda, Sipho, I didn't know that M7's son is the chief of the defense force. Why is he leaving the platform formerly known as Twitter, now known as X?
Thulas, Muhusi Kainerugaba has been known to remember he threatened to invade Kenya. At some point he went on talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now this time he challenged Bobby Wine, saying that he will kill Bobby Wine, he will take him out, and that's Bobby Wine challenged him, said that there's no way that you can say those words as a son of the president. Now, Muhusi on Friday said Thulas is deactivating his X account where he has 1 million followers. This is not for the first time, Thulas, but like I've said, the son of the president and General Muhusi says that focus now on his military work, because sometimes you issue those tweets, but you don't represent the government's views, so your only personal views.
And on a tragic note, you open our historical archives, Sipho. Way before there was the Ellis Park disaster, there was Orkney. Tell us what happened on the 13th of January 1991.
Thulas, it's almost 34 years when we know that it was a pre-season game between Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs in Northwest Province, Orkney Stadium, where we lost almost 42 people who lost their lives. Thulas, that stadium holds 23,000, but it was an overcrowding of 30,000. People like Fanny Madida and schools, they were there, and Fanny Madida has given a narrative of what happened to us when there was a stampede. It was when they scored when Kaizer Chiefs scored a goal against Orlando Pirates during that time in 1991. This memory is still being kept by both Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates to remember the families of those who lost their lives in Northwest, in Orkney during that time. Asante sana Thulas, as was leading the conversation, SAFM observing the Education Month.
Thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update. Just a sampling of some of the key developments and stories that you should be aware of that are playing themselves out on the continent and its diaspora.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just a reminder, it is Back to Work Monday, so it's very busy. If you're not in the traffic yet, it will surprise you how it's become so heavy, so different, the traffic pattern from Friday until today. Some of the heaviest highways around Gauteng include the N3 from the cement factory right through to a point just after Marlborough Drive. The Mike 1 from Boysons through to Parktown to Oxford Road, fairly heavy. The N1 from Bayers Nordia up towards William Mandela, quite slow. There is a crash on the N1 south at Bayers Nordia to watch for as well, and so many traffic lights out along Bayers Nordia. If you're coming in from Honeydew, at Blueberry, at Easterhoats down as well, at Malope at the N1, so it really is stop-start out at Bayers Nordia drive towards the highway. And those faults aren't new, they're long-term. Some of those haven't worked for months and months, if not a year in some cases. The N1 south through Midrand, pretty heavy as well, from Brockfontein all the way down to New Road, just pressure of traffic. There is a crash a little bit further up in the N1 south Linwood Road in Pretoria. All lanes open, but such is the volume today that there is some onlooking traffic coming from the N4 down towards that scene at Linwood Road. Durban not missing out as well on some heavy Monday traffic delays. The N2 from Subaya through Gateway down towards the Kwamashu exit, an earlier crash and some rain and a breakdown. It's really heavy. If you're coming in from the airport, you might want to duck down the M4 at Umhloti instead. Crash on the Southern Freeway inbound at Victoria Embankment, a crash halfway down Fields Hill this morning. So if you're arriving from Hillcrest, very heavy backlogs into Kloof, trying to get through towards that Pinetown area. Cape Town, Baden-Powell Drive, under quite thick sand at Monwabisi. Expect some diversions, delays through there. The main road going into Cork Bay is quite busy from Muizenberg, and traffic all over Marine Drive this morning, queuing up from Tableview through Sunset Beach down towards Racecourse Road, and then a secondary queue, perhaps even heavier from sort of Milnerton High School through towards Lagoon Beach and Boundary Road. In fact, probably extending down towards Milner Road in the Pardon Island area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's talk. Let's speak to Moses in Bramley. Good morning to you, Moses. You want to talk to me about ANC and renewal?
Yes, Thulasizwe. Good morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
You know, this ANC renewal, it's just a fallacy. These people can't renew themselves. They've been stealing and they are still perpetuating a trajectory of stealing. Even now, they are not fixing anything that has to do, that impacts us, citizenry of this country. And they are still selling us an idea that they are renewing. Mbeki asked them, what are you renewing yourself from when some of your comrades are still stealing even today? So those who believe the ANC is renewing themselves, they are believing them at their own peril. Asikho lapho Thulasizwe thina. We are tired with people who are corrupt. Our country is going down the drain. There's nothing that is working, and people are still telling us they are renewing themselves. Let them renew themselves and leave us in peace. We'll see to it who are we going to vote, who can put us in their mix, not ANC.
Must be
ANC is a dead horse.
Concerning assessment there from Moses for the ANC at least. It must be quite concerning to hear that assessment. But I'm pretty sure it's nothing that they've not heard before in their interactions with communities. John in Davidton, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about police vehicles?
Morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, the issue of maintenance of police vehicle, it's a big issue. I wonder whether you are aware or people are aware that policemen, even if they can service their cars, they don't use the cars for the purposes of work only. Sometimes they use these cars, take them home, take their kids to school using those cars. You'll find them parking in wrong places and are not doing their work. So even if you can service the cars, it will be for their own benefit. They will abuse them, they will break down and all these other things. Are you aware of that, Thulasizwe?
Well, I've heard that being said and being alleged that the vehicles are being abused. I'll tell you, a few years ago, I had seen a Johannesburg Metro Police Department vehicle parked in my neighborhood quite regularly. And I had to reach out to the JMPD and ask, is this person allowed to have their car over here over the weekends? And I was told that when they're on standby, it just makes sense for them to have a vehicle and take it home so that when it's time to respond, they don't have to be going to the police station to pick up a car first. And that explanation made sense to me.
That's very lousy and lame excuse. Can I tell you something? One policeman, it's a Metro Police. Who told me that they buy their own cars and they put the police logo or the Metro logo into their own police.
Sure.
So they claim from
That's
the car. How
scary.
true is that?
Okay, that is scary. I don't know about that, but it is worth engaging
So when
the
I asked him,
JMPD
what
about
do
that.
you want here with this car? He said, it's my car,
All right,
and
John.
this is this logo.
All right, John, let's leave it there for this morning. That's John there on police vehicles. Let me take a call from Wonke in King Williamstown. I don't think it's still called King Williamstown, is it? Good morning to you, Wonke. You want to talk to me about the killing and raping of nurses?
Yeah, hi, Thulas. It's Wonke.
Wonke, yes.
Yes. I'm concerned about this killing. And right now, we had one of the chiefs that was killed. And now we are having nurses that are raped. And we also have the killing of mass killing in Mpumalanga. So it is a trend that South Africa, every week we have got a number of people who are being killed. Now, and also the raping of these nurses. The raping is another problem that is happening in South Africa, which is I think at the highest crime against humanity that is happening.
Yeah.
But there's one also something that people are talking about, the expenditures and the shortage of money to reinforce the services. Now, I'm looking at these things and I'm saying, why don't we look for something that will address all of these things at once? And I think that thing is, if we can revisit the calling for a referendum on death penalty so that the death penalty will reduce the number of people that the government must support in jails.
Yeah.
Also,
okay, Wonke, I've got to move on. I've heard you. Thank you for that. That's Wonke there in King Williamstown. Hey, yeah, he raises that difficult topic, right, of the death penalty in South Africa, and that's always a hot button issue. But I think as far as the Constitution is concerned, that issue is done. It is settled at this point, unless, of course, there is the referendum that Wonke is talking about, in which referendum a different outcome comes forth. But at this point, I think it is pretty much settled within our constitutional framework. Viga in Joburg, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about ANC renewal?
Yes, Thulas, I want to talk about the ANC renewal, and I'm going to be very brief.
Sure.
You know, if you want to renew anything, and they say the fish rots from the head, they can't then stack all the blame or make us believe that the rot is within the branches, whereas the leadership is rotten itself. They should also look into what should they do with the leadership, because arrogance breeds unaccountability. If there is no accountability, the branches have no chance in hell to renew. So they are playing games. They are still playing games. They need to first fix the leadership. What is wrong with the ANC is the leadership. This current leadership that is within the ANC, I can trace it back to the Youth League of the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. It was one of the arrogant organizations led by the Mbalulas of this world and the Julius Malimas of this world. And we are seeing the effects of that. They should fix the leadership. If they think they're going to fix the branches without fixing the leadership, then rest in peace, ANC.
All right, Viga, thank you for that. Let me take one or two voice notes also on the same theme. Let me take this one first.
Good morning to Thulasizwe, your team, and fellow SA FM listeners. Thulas, I pray for the downfall of the ANC on a daily basis. I do it from the bottom of my heart. Life is so hard, so messy under the ANC government. There's a group of kleptomaniacs who are ruling us. Kleptomaniacs, really, Thulas. It pains my heart to see where we are today as black people. And now we have to be happy that they were turning 113 years. 113 years, it's nothing to us. It's really nothing. I pray for their downfall, truly speaking.
Sure, wow. I think it's sobering listening to for the ANC leadership, reflecting after the end of the weekend in which they were marking the 113th anniversary of the ANC. I would hope that they take it in that spirit and hear out what are the grievances and the issues that have led some people to the point where that voice note, the person who sent that voice note is in relation to the ANC. Churchill in the Eastern Cape, good morning. ANC renewal as well on your mind this morning.
Yes, good morning, Thulas. Look, Thulas, I think as South Africans, we need to look at the bigger picture. And when I'm saying look at the bigger picture, look at the ANC as a liberation movement. You know, when it's time for them to go, I know when they come, we always have hope, but now it's time for the ANC to go. Look, is it possible to uproot corruption from the ANC? In my view, absolutely no. It's not possible.
Why is that?
It's rooted in the ANC because let's go to the Zondo Commission. It's not easy to implement the Zondo Commission because the ANC is accused number one. And when you look at it now, let's look at the electorate. Look, the MK party took a huge chunk of voters from the ANC. Now it's the SACP that is going out. Imagine what's going to happen to the ANC. So the liberation movement is just dying. We cannot blame the ANC. It's a liberation movement. It has to go. There's time when the liberation movement go, they just die. Like any other liberation movement.
So are you saying it's written in their destiny that because of their nature, at some point, they must exit the stage?
You look at when they won elections in 1994. Look at now look at the trend. going down. It has been going down and down and down and down.
Churchill, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. And I believe Chama Pinduzi in Tanzania would say, we have a different experience in this country. But nevertheless, thank you for that input. At 8 a.m., let's check in with Ann Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, matric learners optimistic ahead of results announcement this evening, and Health Department urged to improve security at public healthcare facilities. Good morning. Some matric learners are optimistic but cautious ahead of the Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagobe's official announcement of the 2024 matric results this evening, while some education experts have warned against comparing the class of 2024 to those of previous years, saying they had different experiences. The Council for Quality Assurance in General and Further Education, Umalusi, is this morning expected to address the media in Pretoria on the authenticity of the National Senior Certificate results. Here are the views of some matric learners as they anxiously wait to learn their fate.
I can't jinx myself. I really hope that the work that I put in pays off, but I am too scared to say anything more on how I feel, just in case I jinx myself.
I worked hard last year. I think I pushed myself harder than I ever have, and obviously towards the end I kind of burnt out a little bit, but you do so many sets of exams. You do your mid-year exams, your prelims, and then your finals, and then all the tests in between. So you start to get a good understanding of what you need to work on.
Meanwhile, the National Association of School Governing Bodies in Limpopo has called on parents and the public to rally behind matric learners ahead of the official release of the national results. The results will also be published in newspapers. The association's convener, Eileen Hudson, says the support is crucial for learners who have not performed well.
Focus on what you can. Matric is a marathon, not a race. And while you are waiting for your results, review your plans for this year and ensure that you will be able to continue on your chosen path, regardless.
Free State Transport authorities say police will soon launch an investigation into the cause of a collision between a truck and a car on the N3 toll route near the roadside Ritz interchange. 4 people were killed in the crash that happened yesterday. The deceased were in the car. Their bodies were burnt beyond recognition. One person who was in the truck was injured and taken to hospital. The Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa in Limpopo is calling on the Health Department to urgently improve security at public healthcare facilities in the province. This follows the kidnapping and rape of 2 nurses at the Hachwene clinic outside Polokwane on Friday. It's alleged a heavily armed man entered the clinic in the early hours of Friday and tied up security guards. The suspect also robbed the 2 nurses of their valuables before leading them to nearby bushes, where he sexually assaulted them. DENOSA's Provincial Secretary Jacob Mulepo.
The first concern that we have is the competency of the security personnel who are deployed in our health facilities. As it was clear that officers who were stationed at Tshwane Clinic, their competence is questionable. Number 2, in terms of the contract of employment, the team of security officers who are deployed in our clinics, one of them must be armed to ensure that as and when they are confronted with this kind of situation, they can be able to defend themselves and defend the employees. The department must install the CCTV cameras in all clinics in the province, prioritizing those who are providing 24-hour service.
And finally, National Treasury and the Reserve Bank will jointly host a 2-day technical meeting under the Group of 20 Finance Track. The Framework Working Group meeting will take place virtually from today. Participants will mainly include officials from finance ministries and central banks of all G20 countries. Tsepo Mongai reports.
In a statement released by National Treasury,
The meeting will seek to promote balanced and inclusive growth, and it will also discuss the draft work plan, which include priority areas identified by the South African presidency. This will be the first of 4 meetings planned for the year. National Treasury says the virtual discussions will not be open to the media. However, media statements will be released at the end of the meeting.
Recapping the top story, some matric learners are optimistic but cautious ahead of the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwagobe's official announcement of the 2024 matric results this evening. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This January, to save money, you could carpool with your not-so-friendly neighbor, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy across Gauteng. Well, it's a battle really between the N3 North Germiston through Linbro Park. That's pretty jam-packed this morning, up through Galilee, Edenvale, and Alex on your way up towards Buccleuch, or the N1 from Bayers Nordia through Malabongwe up to Winnie Mandela. That's absolutely jam-packed. If you're going into Sandton, try and avoid Catherine Street. Joburg Water doing some works there down in the central Sandton there. It's quite a big queue from Grayston Drive, so just avoid that exit off Grayston. Avoid Catherine, go Linden or Daisy or around to Ravonia, one of those, and get an easier way into central Sandton this morning. Durban crash on Fields Hill, which means a delay from Hillcrest into Kloof on your way through to Point. Although I must say it is easing up pretty quickly, so maybe that scene is being cleared. There is a crash going out of Durban near Pavilion Mall, so from Spaghetti Junction, that's all fairly heavy. N2 still jammed heavily north into 4 level as well. Came down the N1 into the city centre, slow going from around about sort of Parrow, N1 city area. It all gets a bit busy. M5 from Rondebosch up to N1 Cuba, going to change is slow. In Marine Drive, still 2 queues. One at Sunset Beach as you come out of Tableview, the second one between Milnerton and the Pardon Island area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
To you in your SFM sports headlines. It is soccer with coach Jose Rivero avoiding the favourites tag as Orlando Pirates reach the CAF Champions League quarterfinals. And tennis action, Coco Gauff starts her Australian Open with a straight sets win over Sofia Kenin. Details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Hey, good morning. We are into the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It's good to be in your company on this Monday morning. Just a recap of some of the conversational fuses that we have lit over the last 2 hours or so. We did talk a bit about there's been a breakthrough in that mass shooting that happened in Pinar, in Mpumalanga, in Bombela over the weekend on Saturday. 8 people killed in that shooting, and the police telling us a bit earlier on here on the show that a 39-year-old man has now been arrested and will appear in court, and the police consider that to be a significant breakthrough. But it's, of course, in the context of all of these mass shootings about which we've been expressing a great deal of concern that in peacetime South Africa, we really should not be talking about 8 people gunned down with high-caliber automatic weapons. That's a consistent conversation we've been having. That's the consistent cry that we've had over the months and over the years, as well as on this show. So that's one of the themes that we've been touching on. But we've also been talking quite a bit about policing resources, right? The availability or otherwise thereof. This is triggered by the shooting dead of Kaylan John Andrews, who was a constable in the SAPS just 3 months into the job. You will have seen, or maybe not, the video of Kaylen John Andrews, the police officer, trying to push start an SAPS-marked vehicle in Helenvale in Gqeberha. That was, around New Year's Eve, thereabouts, a few weeks ago. And what you then saw, also on social media, is a few minutes later, pictures of him having been gunned down in that area that is known and notorious for being gang-ridden. Pictures of him having been gunned down within that context in that area started circulating. It's raised the issue around the quality and roadworthiness of vehicles that are used by police officers. It's got trade unions within the police service concerned that there's a lot of these vehicles that are simply not roadworthy, and in that way they not only imperil service delivery to us as South Africans, but also they also put the lives of police officers in danger as well. So you can weigh in on that, as well as the cancellation of the contract between the Johannesburg Roads Agency and Step Up Engineering. Now we are told that is going to happen by mutual agreement, and I've been wondering why you need mutual agreement in a situation where you have said as COJ that this company did not deliver on its mandate and the contract that was awarded for it to lead the rehabilitation of Lillian Ngoyi Street, formerly known as Bree Street, following that gas explosion. So those are some of the themes. ANC renewal also in the mix. Do give me a call. The number to dial 086 000 2032, as well as your WhatsApp voice notes to 061 410 4107. All of your regulars locked and loaded again in this hour. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1996, a cold drink and pie cost 5 Rand. Now it's about 44 Rand. Times have changed, but Outsurance is still committed to giving you big savings on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Let's hear from 47-year-old Babita, who switched to Outsurance and saves an unbelievable 599 Rand a month on her 2023 BMW X1.
Gave Outsurance a call. Everything was done really quickly, really efficiently, and that smile is not going anywhere.
SMS out to 30754. If Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash and make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Dashing through the door, after we buy cars we go. Gonna treat myself this year, the prices are so low. We buy cars, we buy cars, we buy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a new car today. We buy cars, we buy cars, we sell all the way. Saving so much money feels like another holiday.
Ho, ho, ho. We buy cars, the most festive way to sell and buy your car by far.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes after 8, let's turn our attention to this story now. And I've got to give a bit of credit to the initial reporting of The Citizen on the story. It's a recurring theme, but they have led on the latest, iteration of the conversation. Identity theft cases are on the rise in the country, leaving victims in limbo with no recourse to identify themselves. The latest figures from the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service show a 400% surge in identity theft fraud from April 2023 to April 2024. The Fraud Prevention Service says the police do not treat identity theft cases as a priority crime and are focused on what they deem to be more serious crimes. Let's speak now to Nazia Karim, who is the head of product development at the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service, SAFPS. Good morning, and thank you for your time. 400% surge. That is huge. What is driving it?
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. Well, identity theft, as we know, it's not something new. It's been happening over the ages. It's just unfortunately today it's being exacerbated in scale and speed due to the technological advances that we're coming across. And fraudsters today, they operate globally using tools like deepfakes and voice simulators to create sophisticated fakes or synthetic identities. The internet and social media is also serving as a critical enabler in the process, providing information and expanding the fraudsters' reach in social engineering type tactics like phishing, vishing, and pretexting. But another important point to note or to remember is that we don't just have a physical identity document anymore. We also have actually a digital identity.
Mm-hmm.
And a person's digital identity comprises of a person's sensitive personal information or confidential information, such as your financial or medical information, which may be stored online or on your mobile device for that matter. And these are prime targets for the scammers. They need your identity number, they need your financial information, and they need your personal sensitive information. And these mobile devices today, they serve as significant security risks, as we store much of our credentials on them, everything from banking to the actual copies of our physical identity documents and passports. If you think about it, if you're going on holiday, you actually take pictures of these and you store them on your devices or you store them on your cloud services. If these things are actually compromised, this information can be exploited, or your devices may be hacked or your accounts may be hacked, and then it's sold across to networks anywhere in the world.
So is it your message then that in as much as we'll be guarding physically and safeguarding the identity, the identity document, ID cards, that's one element, but a bigger element at the moment is guarding your information online, including on social media?
Yes, most certainly it is. Today, it's important to be absolutely pedantic about who you share that information with and exactly why you're sharing that information with them. Don't just click on those terms and conditions on the mobile applications or the websites that you log onto without first reading and understanding what information are you actually agreeing on sharing and what that company is planning to do with that data. If you don't have, for example, if you have a copy of your identity document stored on your device and you agree blindly to those terms and conditions, you might have just given that company the right to access your photos and perhaps pull out your identity document without your knowledge. Our physical documents, they need to be stored in a safe place and a secure place. We can't just be carrying them around in our back pockets or in our open handbags and walking around the streets. Many times you walk around, you see quite sadly, this is what's going on. And I'd like to emphasize that rather you carry it in a sealed, invisible pocket or some sort of anti-theft accessory hidden underneath your clothes to protect the actual physical document.
How much do we understand identity theft and identity fraud, Nazia, as a crime and perhaps organized crime? I'm saying this because I imagine when you see the number of scams on a daily basis, the attempted scams that we have to navigate on a daily basis, it suggests to me that we are dealing with an element of organized crime. You need armies of people to constantly be looking out for weaknesses, constantly be looking out to trick people into giving up personal information and the likes. How much do we understand it that way? Particularly, how much do police officials and law enforcement in general understand it in that way?
I think it is very much understood in terms of the complexity of the crime. As mentioned earlier, the perpetrator and the victim don't necessarily have to be in the same city or even on the same continent for that matter. They just require access to your sensitive information or perhaps to that copy of that ID document that was stolen from your handbag or your possession and then digitalized and sold to the criminal networks anywhere in the world. The geographic issue adds a degree of complexity. It basically renders the fraudster invisible. Another thing you need to think about is jurisdiction. This becomes a big problem, especially if the identity is used by a fraudster sitting across the border. Then you need to consider things like MLA agreements that need to come into place, and you need to consider how are we going to address this problem? If the fraudster is now invisible, we don't know who they are, we don't know where they are, how are we going to address the problem? Another thing you need to think about is data breaches. It's also contributed a lot to the extent of the problem. It's not necessarily that it's only a physical document that's stolen, and I think that's a mind shift we need to make sure that we understand. Your identity today is not only that physical document in your hand.
Yeah.
We don't need your ID number from your ID book. We can get your ID number from anywhere.
Right.
And a data breach is an example of that point.
Nazir, just lastly then, to what extent do police officers prioritize this? The difficulty that identity theft can bring for victims is well documented. But to what extent do officials such as police and Home Affairs prioritize assisting the victims to reclaim their stolen identity?
I think it's definitely something that's understood as a priority type of crime. But what needs to be understood from our perspective as citizens of the country is that it is a crime that happens quite often. It's also not a serious crime. For example, if you're going to compare an identity theft versus a murder, priority is always going to be given to a serious crime such as murder. The capacity the law enforcement has to investigate the volume of incidents is also a problem. It also will not make logical sense to spend capacity investigating a single incident, but it is important for us to report every incident.
Yeah.
The data that's collected across all these incidents actually provides the intelligence to the law enforcement to have them identify the syndicates or the criminal organized syndicates that are actually working to exploit us. And that information is important. Sometimes we need to consider the bigger picture.
Right.
It reports the information to collect the intelligence so we can actually identify and apprehend the syndicates targeting us.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That is Nazia Karim, who is the head of product development at the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service.
Abafana West 10 and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 18 January, live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
With Outsurance Essential, you could start your new year with insurance savings on your older car. With Outsurance Essential, accident claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. You can even top it up with motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let's take one or two of your calls this morning. Let's speak to Mujalifa. Mujalifa in the Northwest. Good morning to you. And I think I agree with you, but please go ahead.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Sir, I think we have to come to our terms as a country, individual players, because we do have a talent in our country, but unfortunately it doesn't take us anywhere. I mean, some big countries like France, they are winning World Cups because of the internationalization of players. But for us, we are praising that we do have a talent, but the very same talent that you are praising doesn't take us anywhere. I mean, it is our time as a country to talk about this. If we really want to compete on the international stage, really we have to come to our terms.
Yeah, so when we see a player, Mujalifa, when we see a player, that comes from, I don't know, Italy and lives in South Africa, and we're a cosmopolitan country, and we can see this guy is really great and now qualifies for South African citizenship, we naturalize. I agree with you.
Let us do so, because of really now, if Sundowns doesn't play very well in our camp or in our domestic league, which is the entire Bafana it's going to be compromised.
Yeah.
Because we are depending on them. That's all that I want to say. Really,
all right. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mujalifa. Now I can't disagree with you. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe someone else holds a different view. I've seen many, many countries that do exactly that, that say based on your skill and talent and the amount of time you've spent in South Africa, actually you qualify, we could naturalize you and you become a South African and we put you in Bafana. And who knows, man, what we could achieve if we were to start doing that to complement the undeniable talent that we do have in the country. Mbona in Mahikeng, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Biden and Netanyahu. What about them?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
You see, Biden did not shield Netanyahu for the crime against humanity in Palestine. That's why he's sensing that he wants us to forget that this man, Netanyahu, needs to be facing the charges of killing Palestine. So he mustn't hurry up the peace deal because his turn is coming to an end.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So this talk about a ceasefire in Gaza, you're saying it must not mask the fact that actually Benjamin Netanyahu needs to face war crimes.
No, nothing be like that. We're not forgetting that our country was also in the same situation. No one was charged and people still suffering. So we don't want to experience that in Palestine as well.
All right. Battling a bit with your line there, but I think I got the gist of the point that you are making. That's Mbona in Mahikeng. Let's speak now to Sizwe in Mbombela. Good morning to you, Sizwe. You want to talk to me about identity theft?
Good morning, Mguni.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. Hey, this identity theft issue is a big one. I have a family member. We suspecting that it might be identity theft because she was supposed to go to school this year. Last year, 2024. So then, because she had to, the fees that she was going to pay with, she had to get them from the GPF. So when she got to the GPF, we were told that her identity is not verified. And we have been struggling since the beginning of 2024. So the whole of last year, she took a gap year. Even this year, she has to take a gap year again because Home Affairs merely just say they are investigating. So, we are struggling to understand how difficult can it be just to register an ID because she can't go to school now because the ID doesn't work. She can't even get a job. Maybe she's taking a gap year because the ID basically, they're saying they're investigating. So the father is there, the sisters are there. Yeah.
That is devastating, Sizwe. Let me ask the team to take your number and keep your number and see if there's responsiveness. And I said this a few days ago in relation to a different matter. I am hoping that we will see some responsiveness. I know that these cases do take time in terms of how they play themselves out. But, I mean, it is devastating. A young person now stuck, not able to move forward simply because their ID appears to have been stolen in terms of the identity being stolen, and now it is said that her ID cannot be verified. And you and I know without the ID card, ID book, there's very little you can achieve in South Africa. Let me take one or two of your voice notes now.
Morning, Tulas. The issue of the luxury yacht and Figile Mbalula, I just think Figile is extra and out of touch. The ANC says they did not want Figile to be late for the event, but he was late anyway at Robben Island. He arrived late and bambuka bonke abantu at Diliga emkhumbini wamabayibayi.
Luxury yacht, yeah.
Couldn't he just say no? Acele nje iskepe ke simhambise ufuna luxury. No. Thanks, Bongi here.
Bongi, thank you. I hear you. That image that you project of yourself, right? That humility. Already you have South Africans saying that, what do they call it? Crass materialism. I think it was a phrase actually that the ANC itself coined and said displays of crass materialism is part of what disconnects them to people. So I get the point that you are making. Let me take this one on police vans and availability.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning, SAFM. Speaking to Josie Bush here in Chimiston, Rondapelt. I will also like to put my 2 cents on this issue of the police vans that are not in good condition. The caller, as you are speaking to him now online, he's right. These police vans are being abused. And I don't know what does the station commanders do about this. Apparently, even the station commanders, they are not doing their duties. These vans are being abused by the police.
Yeah, that doesn't help, does it? I mean, when you're dealing with a situation where we are told the vehicle availability factor is at 80%, so 80% of the vehicles are available to be used on any given day and 20% not available for various reasons, including those that are in accidents, in crashes, as well as those that are deemed not to be roadworthy. It doesn't help when there's a situation where people see that these vehicles are also being abused. And in this day and age, how hard can it be to keep track of how a police vehicle that is assigned to a specific officer, how that vehicle is being used? How hard is that? How hard is that? All right, 8:30. Let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, a 39-year-old man has been arrested in connection with a shooting incident in Pinar, Mpumalanga. The arrest was made last night after 6 people were gunned down outside a tavern at the weekend. 2 of them succumbed to wounds, taking the death toll to 8. Some political parties have called on the Basic Education Department to act swiftly following public outrage to allegations that the 2024 National Senior Certificate Matric results have been compromised. And the Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa in Limpopo is calling on the Health Department to urgently improve security at public health care facilities in the province. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
So it's really heavy on Joburg's N3 this morning from Edenvale all the way through to Buccleuch. Looks like an issue there between Limbro Park's Marlborough Drive and the M1 Buccleuch, which is backing that traffic up heavily from the Edenvale side. Expect delays going into Sandton off the Mike 1 Highway to Greyston this morning. There's roadwork, quite a big roadwork job on Catherine. It's Joburg Water that are there down in the central Sandton area. That traffic's backed up to Greyston Drive. So motorists on Greyston Drive are queuing from the highway past that snarl up on Catherine and then down through sort of through Daisy and Linden. So maybe come off a Caller Drive, go through Lovo. Might be a quicker way into Sandton this morning. Just an idea. The N1 south of the Bayers Nordia, a crash there. That's quite slow as you arrive onto that scene. Durban's had a really busy back to work Monday. Things are easing up with the exception of Spaghetti Junction. There's a crash on the N3 out of town near Pavilion Mall. That is back traffic into Spaghetti Junction. Now behind that, the N2 South is backlogging from Umgena Road and the N2 North from the M7 Bluff exit. Some real pressure heading into Spaghetti Junction to try and turn out towards Pavilion. You've got the M19 or the M7 as alternative routes to avoid a run through 4-level interchange. Cape Town easing up after a busy Monday as well. Probably the standout queue there this morning. Marine Drive slow going through Pardon Island as you come up to the N1, which is a bit busy onto the elevated freeway and city centre area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. So what Jose Ribeiro is saying kind of reminds me of my favorite team, Chelsea. We are not in the title race. We're just earning our 3 points until we were not.
Let the mind games begin.
So he says this favorite's tag, he's not in the title race. He's just doing what needs to be done.
A smart guy, I would think. You know, just focusing on what's important, one match at a time.
Yeah.
Look at me. I think I know what I'm saying. But actually, we'll leave it to the expert, Jose Ribeiro, Thulas dodging, yes, that favorites tag, like it's some dodgy referee call. But nevertheless, he has expressed his satisfaction and he's looking forward to the Buccaneers. They took down Algerian giants CR Belouizdad 2-1 in the CAF Champions League. And this is now heading into the quarterfinals of the competition. They top Group C, the Buccaneers, 11 points from 4 matches and are one of only 2 teams still unbeaten at this stage of the competition. Bucks goals came from Bafana players Relebohile Mafokeng in the first half and a trademark thunderbolt from the talented talent Mbata midway through the second half. Rivero was slightly emotional, and that was during Mbata's goal celebration, with the crowd having given the Kwamashu lad some tough time before scoring the winning goal. The Spanish-born coach explains.
No, it's a normal reaction during the games. I think there was a moment that Talente lost a couple of balls and the atmosphere changed a little bit, and we cannot afford to do that. And yeah, it's an emotional reaction because the players are humans, they have feelings. It's important that they feel that they are playing home every single minute, not only when they are scoring or when we are playing nice. Sometimes we have to understand that it's not that easy. We have an opponent in front, they also wants to win, and this is a tough competition, so we need to capitalize something that not every club has, which is our fan base. Again, it's a moment of the game that maybe I shouldn't, an emotional moment, but I think we're fine. It's okay. I think the fans today, they play a big role again, coming in numbers, and we're trying to play for them all the time.
Orlando Pirates head coach Jose Rivero on the morning brief. Now, Kaizer Chiefs coach Nasruddin Nabi was shown a red card after his team suffered a 1-0 defeat to Golden Arrows in a rain-soaked clash in Durban. Meanwhile, Sekhukhune United climbed to third on the table after Zambian striker Andy Boeli netted a second-half hat-trick in their 3-0 win over 10-man SuperSport United. Now, their coach Lehronole Siema has cautioned Sekhukhune from getting ahead of themselves.
I think it's too early for us. Yes, 5 games is true, but we haven't even played 12 games. I think today we're playing the 12th game, but it's always important to collect points as early as possible, and winning becomes a habit. If you win, you throw, and then you are not losing matches, then it becomes a bit better. So we are happy with the run that is going, and then we keep on continuing, but we know that the next game is going to be away again, another difficult one again, so they never stop, they keep on coming, but we'll have to see who's back, who's not, and then how are we managing them. But at least on this one we have a full week, so that we can recuperate for the next game on Sunday.
And finally, tennis. Alex Mitchelson has produced the big upset, the first big upset of the 2025 Australian Open, defeating the 2023 finalist Stefanos Tsitsipas 7-5, 3-6, 6-2, 6-4 this morning, and that's to charge into the second round. In the women's draw, Iga Swiatek fought hard to beat former world number 1 doubles player Katerina Siniakova 6-3, 6-4 in her first round match, and Coco Gauff beating the former champion Sofia Kenin in straight sets to advance to the second round of the Australian Open. And that's game, set and match here on the Morning Brief Sport. There'll be more sport served around 12:30 with George Herika. I'm Zai Khan.
We definitely know what good insurance is. Our insurance don't delay when it comes to any claims. If something happens to one of our vehicles on the road, service delivery is the main thing.
They make sure that you are a satisfied customer from the beginning to the end.
It's definitely a win-win with our insurance.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Dowling. Start this hour with telling us about these governance issues at Exxaro and their CEO, Nombasa Tsengwa. That's going from the boardroom to the courtroom.
That's right, Sulat, and I love that analogy. So according to a Business Times article, over 100 Exxaro employees have signed an online petition supporting the reinstatement of suspended CEO Nombasa Tsengwa. This comes as Tsengwa has filed a lawsuit with the Pretoria High Court to have her suspension declared unlawful and lifted. Now, Tsengwa was suspended in December pending an independent investigation into allegations of workplace misconduct and governance issues. The investigation is still ongoing and being conducted by law firm ENS, includes accusations of bullying and intimidation, as well as failure to implement Exxaro's strategy to diversify away from coal. Now, the miner has confirmed receiving the petition, and its emergence comes amidst an exodus of key executives and employees from Exxaro, including its head of coal. Now, Tsengwa's lawsuit is scheduled to be heard next week. The court has agreed to seal the files to prevent confidential information from becoming public.
Yeah, what drama that's going to be as it plays itself out. But unfortunately, as you say, the file will be sealed, so we're unlikely to see much detail. What piracy issues is MultiChoice concerned about?
So MultiChoice is saying that people are not watching shows from DSTV on DSTV. I don't know where they're getting them, but they're getting them from somewhere. And it says over 2 million people in South Africa access pirated versions of content available on its DSTV platform. This piracy results in significant revenue losses, with potential monthly losses exceeding 1 billion rands. The company shared this information with ICASA as part of an inquiry into subscription television broadcasting services. MultiChoice emphasized that piracy is a pervasive problem affecting content creators and broadcasters, and it constrains subscription television services in South Africa. MultiChoice says the impact of piracy is compounded by the growing popularity of streaming services like Netflix, which has stolen market share from MultiChoice. The company has lost 400,000 subscribers in South Africa over the past year, with a significant decline in premium subscribers. Now, ICASA's discussion document highlights the effects of OTTs on MultiChoice's business, influencing pricing behavior and subscriber numbers. The document notes that OTTs like Amazon Prime, YouTube Premium have rapidly grown in South Africa, with over 8.3 million subscribers in 2024, up from 3.7 million in 2017. In response to these challenges, MultiChoice is adapting its strategy, including signing deals with major streaming platforms like HBO, Paramount, and NBC to offer their content on Showmax. The company is also enhancing its online streaming services, including DSTV Stream, which saw a 71% year-on-year revenue increase in the half year to September last year.
All right, Ndauling, what kind of a Monday are we in store for on this Monday?
So local markets in for a downbeat start following the action we've seen from international peers. In terms of company news, markets will be waking up to an update from Minor Teresa and Life Healthcare. Over in currency markets, the rand on the back foot. It's really a dollar story here, with the greenback trading stronger and weighing on emerging market currencies. The rand at a 9-month low, sitting at 19.15 to the dollar. Then moving over to Wall Street, futures in the red following the downbeat close on Friday. Over in Asia, markets on track for another negative finish as that market sell-off really just gains traction.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She's been keeping an eye on the economy, business, and the markets for you over the last 3 hours here on the Morning Brief.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So, with schools opening on Wednesday, parents have been warned to pay attention to their children's school bags and how they impact on the children's health. Durban-based physiotherapist Sumeshan Mudli says it is important for parents to ensure proper school bag usage. She says poor bag use and handling poses a risk of spinal issues in children whose bodies are still developing. Let's speak now to Sumeshan Mudli, who is a physiotherapist and joins me now. Good morning to you, Sumeshan, and thank you for your time. It's an important conversation, and I think I relate to it because I believe many of the back problems that I have now have to do with the years and years when I carried a backpack as a news reporter. How important is it then for parents to pay attention to how their children use school bags?
Good morning to you and your listeners. Thank you for having me on SAFM. I'm glad you guys are discussing this topic. Yes, how important. You from experience, can tell the effects of carrying a heavy school bag or carrying a heavy school bag wrongly has on your spine in the later years. So this is of relevance as in under 16s especially. Your body is still developing. Your muscles are not fully folded up. And the spine, which is made out of bony fragments called the vertebra, is also not completely developed, and the growth plates need to be fused completely before it can totally weight bear. So in the developmental stages, if this has been impacted negatively in terms of overloading or incorrect loading, then this is going to lead to severe spinal conditions and back pain later on.
Is it a matter of how the school bag is used, or is it more a matter of the type of school bag that is used?
Well, how it is used is important, and to answer this, there's two ways. One, obviously, if you're going to overload, no matter how you use it, it's still going to negatively impact the spine. But if you learn how to distribute the weight evenly, and at the same time your kid has been in a routine of strengthening exercises, and I would advise predominantly bodyweight exercises, because in under 16s, you don't want them doing weight strengthening exercises. So if the kid is being conditioned to be able to carry the weight and carry it correctly, it could prevent or have limited negative effects on the spine.
So this sounds to me then, Sumeshan, like something that perhaps parents need to take more seriously in terms of checking how the school bag is loaded and engaging in that, doing what you are saying is even weight distribution.
Yes, absolutely. Because, again, we always say, prevention is better than cure. And when you see what's happening in kids nowadays, spinal conditions such as kyphosis and scoliosis is becoming more common. And if you analyze it and put it into perspective, this is due to the type of school bags that they are using and how heavy these school bags are. And again, carrying it incorrectly. So you want to ensure that, firstly, you're minimizing the loading, and then secondly, carrying it correctly to prevent these spinal conditions from occurring. Because once scoliosis sets in, it cannot be corrected unless you go for surgery. So why allow the body to go through to that extent?
Yeah, but you know, Sumeshan, young people are cool, man. They want to be cool. Sometimes, you don't look so cool when you're carrying that backpack further up on your back and both straps are strapped in or over your shoulders. You know how they like to just strap it on the one side and let it sag as much as possible. Are those the kind of no moves that you're talking about?
Yeah, so the backpack, obviously, for me, is secondary. I would prefer the trolley bags. And again, a nice trolley bag actually does make you cool. It looks like you're rushing through an airport or something, like you're a seasoned traveler. So the trolley bag would be most applicable or most correct. But yeah, if you're going to use a backpack, make sure it's over both shoulders. And, again, you say about looking cool. I always use this analogy. What tastes good is bad for you, and what tastes bad is good for you. So if you want to look cool, then be prepared to suffer later on.
Sure. So what are the key, pointers for us as parents to look out for in all the excitement of, they're going to be heading off to school, some of them carrying their backpacks and the likes. What are we to be looking out for, not only this week, but going forward?
I think predominantly observe your child in terms of their posture. Are they upright? Is the shoulders tending to round inwards? Does the chin look like it's deviating or pointing forward, like as if there's an angle or disassociation from the head and the shoulders? So you want to correct that chin posture. So posture is key. Then thereafter, get your kids into a good exercise routine, 15 to 20 minutes of doing postural exercises. It can be used as a good breather in between study sessions. Secondly, teach them how to manage the load as well. And again, you know what? I don't think you have to carry all your books to school. I think you can leave some at home and some at school. So those subjects that you are going to do homework with, you can bring those books home and I'm sure your teachers would give you a timetable and work according to that in terms of which books are necessary and which are not. And also, maybe it's something for parents and teachers to engage in as to how we can, because again, how is a child with a sore neck or a sore back going to concentrate in school,
Absolutely.
So in terms of pointers for parents, posture is very important, and also learning or teaching their kids how to manage the heavy load.
All right, thank you for that, Sumeshan. That's Sumeshan Mudli, who is a physiotherapist. It's a truly important conversation, and I can tell you from experience, if you're a parent, take this very seriously. Just watch, for those little signs and what Sumeshan was talking about, because it can really do damage over a long period of time.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
What do you make of his response, Fikile Mbula's response now?
This is a response of a little child, to be honest with you. No grown-up person can respond that way. And for us, as a foundation, we're not going to sink to that level. We are adults or grown-ups. We're not going to get into the child kind of mudslinging and all of that.
Mshonele Manyi, the MK Party Chief Whip and spokesperson for the Jacob Zuma Foundation.
This is the National Pulse on SAFM. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy rains across Limpopo province. Please just drive carefully. We are looking at some flooding, quite extreme flooding on the 518 just outside Mokopane. But those low-level bridges and rivers that are swelling with all that rain, really just you need to take great care. Just outside Polokwane on the Zanin Road near Makweng, there's some slow-moving traffic on the R71, and that's a route that can often flood as well. So possibility that route, the R71, is under a bit of water this morning. Over 200 mils of rain, or close to 200 mils recorded up through the Richards Bay area of KZN yesterday, so they've also had a lot of rain. We're looking at some bridges that have been damaged in Kruger National Park because of the substantial amount of rainfall there. So if it's been raining and still raining in those northern provinces or northern parts of provinces, please just drive very carefully. Joburg side, the N3 stays heavy. Looks like an issue between Marlborough Drive and the Buccleuch interchange. Traffic parking all the way back through to the back towards Edenvale. Also some delays on the R21 heading away from the airport towards Pretoria. Queues up towards the R23 Benoni exit. That could well be road construction that's gone in this morning. It is very slow. Durban, a crash by Pavilion Mall earlier. Traffic seems to be moving better now, but it has behind it left some queues on the N2, south from Inanda down to 4 level and northbound from the M7 up through to Westwood Mall. Still very busy for this time of day. Also a crash just past Queen Nandi Drive on the N2 north, so there's some delays there as well. And Cape Town just really busy now on the N1 into town, the elevated freeway queuing up after you get past Kuberg interchange. Also Strand Street coming off the N2 in towards the CBD. That's quite slow as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
So let's make the most of the remaining time on the show. Let's talk a bit more. Let's engage a bit more. One of the topics we talked about is the situation in Stilfontein, and a bit earlier on, in light of the court ordering that the government should finalize the contract with mine rescue services to be able to go down and retrieve those illegal miners in Stilfontein. I've been asking whether we are downplaying or not really understanding the extent of the situation in Stilfontein. Here's what some of you have had to say about that.
I'm 17 and I'm a professional.
Good morning, Tulas. Just about the Stilfontein miners, I'm just wondering, you don't hear anything from the church in terms of what you're saying. There's no voice about what's happening to the miners. Is there help from the church? And I'm talking about the church universal. In fact, maybe I should say the religious community. You don't hear anything about them. The outrage, the help, what are they doing? just absolutely nothing and quietness.
Yeah. Now, I hear exactly what you're saying. The importance of the church, religious organizations as a voice of civil society in what is, bit by bit being proven to be something of a humanitarian, at least a situation for us to deal with, if you go by what the court has had to say, that how the response should be coordinated. I absolutely hear exactly what you're saying about the church, religious organizations, and their importance as a civil society voice.
Hi, Thulasizwe. It's Joseph here from Randburg. Again, the African National Congress is getting it totally wrong. The problem is not necessarily about the branches. The problem is about their deployment policies. Because, look, the people that vote for the ANC are more than members, card-carrying members of the ANC. And if you say, vote for us, but we will never give you employment, you will prioritize our members, that in itself is actually going to affect you negatively. So if they can get rid of deployment policy, then things will start changing.
I don't know if that's possible. Hey, there's always going to be some kind of a deployment policy. And I think every political party will inevitably have its idea of how exactly it puts people in position to carry out its governing mandate. And that's been a debate for the longest time. The bastardization of deployment, the corruption of deployment, I suppose, is where the problem arises, where merit really counts for nothing. That then becomes a problem. But I hear the point you are making. And it's interesting what you're saying about the needing to inspire more than the people who are branch members, card-carrying members of the ANC. And I suppose, I don't think the ANC would ever disagree with you there, that the people that get the ANC elected, that have gotten it elected over the years, are beyond the people who are card-carrying members of the ANC. So equally important as you focus on the branch, but also focus on who are these people that you are selling to society and saying, vote for us.
Morning, SAFM. Tulas, this is Mutusi Mukalaki. Tulas, I want us not to forget as South Africans that the time we voted ANC, we didn't. Some of us maybe we didn't understand. This party is for Africans. That is why they say it's African National Congress. It's not for South Africans. It's for Africans. It's here to solve African issues. That is why South Africa is full of Africans, because of ANC. It's for Africans, African National Congress. Thank you.
I did not foresee that twist there when I was with you and following you nicely as you're talking about, Africans. African National Congress is for Africans, as they always say. Africans blacks in general, Africans in particular. And I was following you nicely, and in my mind, I was going back to the history of the founding of the ANC, the role played by various people from various regions across the African continent. But I see the critique that you are making, and it talks to issues of migration, and it's just that twist right at the end that I had not anticipated.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the crew and the team. This is Lucas Mashabela from Zwidiela in Limpopo. I want to touch on this issue, ANC. The ANC renewal is not going to be possible for as long as we have leaders who are still being called bishops. Because such leaders, they impose leadership in the branches so that they can control it. And by doing so, those in the branches, they do gatekeeping. Not all the members are allowed to participate. And even if they can try to bring the technology and everything, it's not going to be easy. I used to love ANC. I'm a member of ANC, but no longer in good standing. So it's bad. It's really bad. Thank you.
I don't know what to say to you, Lucas, because the issues you are talking about, I remember them from years ago when I used to do political reporting, the gatekeeping that you're talking about. You mentioned people that are called bishops that you're saying impose leadership to branches. I really don't know what to say. I have no better wisdom than what the ANC has been trying to do over the years. And if they haven't been able to crack that, I don't know what I can say in response to what you are saying, but I take the point you are making.
So I've got a question regarding the identity of a scholar being stolen or not being verified. If undocumented foreigners can enter their children into schools and allow their children to go to our schools without documentation, why is it that the South African child can't go to school because of identity theft or an investigation? Thank you.
I get the point you're making. I absolutely get the point you're making, that given the dispensation that says in some instances it should be possible for a person who resides in South Africa, even if they are not documented, to have access to education, it should not be a barrier for someone who says, I'm a South African. The only challenge I face is that my identity has been stolen. When I go to Home Affairs, they are saying this identity cannot be verified. I absolutely get the point you are making. I don't have the details of what the actual position in law is about undocumented foreign nationals accessing education, not at this very moment, but I've heard that conversation being had, and hence I take the point that you are making. Thank you for your engagement this morning, and thank you for listening. Thanks to the team that put it all together. The Talking Point is up next here on SAFM after the news. And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident, and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS CAR to 43187.
In our top stories, suspect arrested in Mpumalanga mass shooting that left 8 people dead, and Basic Education urged to act swiftly following allegations of matric results for sale. Good morning. A 39-year-old man has been